Minneapolis, deep winter night. The temperature has dropped to minus 35 degrees Celsius, minus 31 degrees Fahrenheit, a level of cold where the environment stops being just uncomfortable and becomes actively hostile to human survival. Every breath cuts through the lungs like dry ice. Every exposed patch of skin begins to lose sensation within minutes, and the body's natural ability to maintain heat is constantly under attack. In these conditions, survival is not about toughness or willpower. It is about control, sequence, and precision. Panic speeds up breathing, increases heat loss, and leads to poor decisions. That is why Daria does not rush. She moves slowly, deliberately, almost mechanically, following a system she trusts more than instinct. She does not go to a shelter, not because she prefers isolation, but because shelters come with trade-offs that can be dangerous in their own way. Many are overcrowded. Some require identification. Others separate people or refuse entry with animals. But the most critical issue is risk. Gear can be stolen. And in this environment, gear is not convenience, it is survival. A lost sleeping bag or pad is not an inconvenience, it is a direct threat to making it through the next night. So she chooses a tent, not as a symbol of comfort, but as a controlled micro environment where every variable can be managed. Very quickly, the real problem reveals itself. It is not just the cold pressing from outside, it is what happens inside. With every breath, Daria releases warm, moist air. In normal conditions, this would dissipate. Here, it freezes instantly on contact with the tent walls, forming a thin but growing layer of frost. Over hours, that frost accumulates. Then, as temperatures fluctuate slightly or body heat builds, it begins to melt. Droplets form and fall downward. Gravity does the rest. The water seeps into fabric, into insulation, into the sleeping system, and once insulation becomes wet, it collapses. Materials that trap warm air lose their structure. Heat escapes rapidly. A sleeping bag that was designed to protect against extreme cold can lose up to 90% of its effectiveness when soaked. Daria prevents this before it starts. She takes something simple, plastic sheeting, trash bags, anything that can act as a vapor barrier, and attaches it to the inner frame of the tent. But she does not press it directly against the outer wall. She leaves a deliberate gap of about 5 centimeters. That small space is critical. It traps air and prevents circulation. Still air acts as insulation, reducing heat transfer. The outer wall takes the condensation, freezes, and melts, but the inner barrier keeps that moisture away from her core environment. This creates a dual-layer system, similar in principle to double-walled construction. The result is a measurable increase in internal temperature, sometimes around 10 degrees Celsius, warmer than outside, but more importantly, it stabilizes the internal climate and protects the integrity of her insulation. Then there is the ground, the most underestimated threat. While the air is brutally cold, the frozen earth beneath her acts as a continuous heat sink. Heat naturally moves from warmer to colder areas, and the ground accelerates this transfer dramatically, pulling warmth away up to 40 times faster than air. Lying directly on it is one of the fastest ways to lose body heat. Daria addresses this by reshaping the surface itself. She digs a shallow depression matching the outline of her body. This reduces air movement around her sides and helps limit convective heat loss. On top of that, she constructs a layered system, often called a ground sandwich. The first layer is plastic, acting as a moisture barrier to prevent ground dampness from rising upward. Above that, she stacks a thick layer of corrugated cardboard, around 10 to 15 centimeters. Cardboard might seem insignificant, but its internal structure is filled with small air pockets, and those pockets trap heat effectively. Next comes a closed-cell foam mat or similar material chosen specifically because it does not absorb water and maintains its insulating properties even under pressure. Finally, a wool blanket goes on top. Wool retains heat well and continues to insulate even if slightly damp. Each layer serves a distinct function, and together they create a barrier that slows heat loss to a manageable level. Even with passive insulation, additional heat can make a critical difference. For this, Daria uses a simple improvised system, sometimes referred to as a candle heater. A few small candles are placed on a stable metal surface, and an inverted ceramic pot is positioned above them. The flame itself produces heat, but the ceramic plays a key role by absorbing that energy and slowly releasing it as infrared radiation. This does not turn the tent into a warm room, but it raises the ambient temperature enough to reduce stress on the body. However, this method introduces a serious risk. Burning candles consume oxygen and produce carbon monoxide, a gas that cannot be seen or smelled. In an enclosed space, it can build up silently and become deadly. Daria accounts for this by maintaining a ventilation gap, usually low to the ground, allowing fresh air to enter and gases to escape. It is a balance between conserving heat and ensuring breathable air. Her sleeping system is also optimized for efficiency rather than simplicity. Instead of relying on a single high-performance sleeping bag, she uses a nested configuration, placing one bag inside another. This creates multiple layers of trapped air, significantly improving insulation. Air, when not moving, becomes one of the best barriers against heat loss. She also manages small but important details. Her boots are placed inside the sleeping system near her feet, preventing them from freezing solid overnight. If left outside or exposed, they could become stiff and unusable by morning. The zipper of the sleeping bag is positioned away from the tent wall, as that line can act as a thermal weak point where heat escapes more easily. When possible, she shares heat with another person. Two bodies in close proximity generate more warmth than one, and when their sleeping systems are combined, the shared heat creates a noticeable increase in temperature. This is not about comfort, it is about efficiency. In extreme cold, even a few degrees can change the outcome of a night. Location also matters. During the day, she positions the tent where it can capture any available sunlight, typically on the south-facing side of buildings. Even minimal solar gain can slightly warm the structure and reduce the energy needed to maintain body heat later. Wind exposure is minimized by placing the tent near barriers or among other tents. Groups naturally form small protective zones, reducing wind chill and stabilizing the environment. But beyond equipment and positioning, one of the most important factors is coordination with others. People establish simple routines, taking turns, staying alert, and checking on each other periodically throughout the night. In extreme cold, a person can become too exhausted or disoriented to recognize danger. Having someone else verify that you are responsive and safe adds a layer of security that no piece of gear can provide. It also helps catch invisible threats like carbon monoxide buildup or early signs of dangerous heat loss before they escalate. In the end, survival in these conditions is not driven by strength alone. Physical endurance matters, but it is not enough. What determines the outcome is understanding how heat moves, how moisture behaves, how materials perform, and how small decisions compound over time. Every layer, every adjustment, every action has a purpose. There is no excess, no randomness. It is a system built on physics, awareness, and adaptation. And in an environment where the margin for error is almost zero, that system is what allows Daria to make it through the night.